So welcome to PistachioLand, home of the world's largest pistachio. To your left, it does stand 35 feet of concrete, steel, and paint. But most importantly, it's actually a memorial to our founder, Tom McGinn. Tom McGinn moved here in 1980 from New Jersey. And he brought his family here. He was a food plant manager for several years, and he retired from that career. But he wasn't done working just yet, because he wanted to build something that he could pass down throughout the generations of his family. So he knew that the work wasn't done until his kids and grandkids had job security. So that's what he wanted to do. So he moved here. He fell in love with the Southwest because he used to go on these cross-country road trips with his kids. And he loved looking at all the world's largest attractions. It was his favorite thing to do with them. And he knew that Southwest was the perfect location to have one of his very own. It was his dream to have something like this, where people from all over the country would gather, spend time with their family, and he really wanted to be a part of that. When he did pass on in 2007, his son Tim inherited the business like he wanted, alongside his wife Clarissa. And his son Tim built the world's largest attraction for his dad because he knew how much it would mean to have his very own world's largest attraction. They're a very sentimental family. I'm not part of their family, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's the story behind the pistachio. We have expanded every year since then. In 1980, we only had 40 acres of pistachio trees and a very, very small store. We were not PistachioLand just yet. It was just McGinn's Country Store. And when you walk in where the wine counter is, that was the entire store. So we have expanded quite a bit. Back then it was just roasted and salted red chili and green chili, so nothing like it is now. We have all the different flavors. We have tours, we have ice cream, we have over 100 acres of trees. We even have a vineyard, which we're going to talk about now. In 1998 and in 2001, Arena Blanca Winery was born. So where it says McGinn's PistachioLand and Arena Blanca Winery, the family is part of both. This is the first press that we used for 10 years. We did not use our feet to stomp on the grapes. I think they had a moral obligation not to do that. But this crank here, this grape press, it doesn't look like it was used in the early 2000s, but it was. It looks a lot older than that. So from 2001 to 2011, this is the one they used. The way that it works is you fill up the barrel full of grapes, you put a steel wheel on top, and 3 to 4 of our strongest farm hands would take turns screwing it down. It was very labor intensive. You did get about 125 gallons of juice, but it's a lot of work to get that juice, and we need a lot more than just 100 gallons to make all the wine that we make here. So we make about 6,000 cases a year. So after 10 years, we decided to upgrade to something fully mechanical. We get a better yield as well, about 2,000 gallons of juice just with the press of a button, so much better.
Now that's not a live scarecrow, is it? That's not a live scarecrow.
They are very sensitive.
Something about the female trees?
Yes.
Is there a male and female tree and they need both to germinate?
Yes, exactly. So there are male and female trees. The female trees are the ones that produce the nuts every harvest. Right. The male trees are strictly pollinators, and we don't use any bees to carry the pollen. It's all wind. So the male trees will grow all the pollen.
So they're interspersed?
Yes.
Can you tell the difference looking at them?
So over here it's harder because these are smaller trees, but the third one in down that row, the one with no leaves on it, that one is a male tree. And I know because it's taller than the rest. Yeah,
I wondered if it was something like that.
The male trees are much taller because we want them to grow as much pollen as possible, and then we prune the female trees shorter so that they could have a maximum pollination. And then the wind is what carries the pollen. We have a lot of wind in this area, so that's how we do it.
Nice.
So all of our commercial pistachio producers in the U.S. are New Mexico, Arizona, and Southern California.
There's mine. Yeah.
How do you keep track of which have been harvested and which haven't?
So for the most part, it's hard to tell right now because after harvest you can tell, because the ones with no nuts are the ones that have been harvested, and the ones that had nuts on them, even if it's just a little bit, those are in the resting cycle. But we stopped harvesting in October, so from October until now, the local birds have come around and they're eating all the leftovers, so it's hard to tell now which ones. But normally you'd be able to tell.
So the pollination, I would imagine, is a lot of flowering.
It is. So the female trees don't have a flower,
Right.
but the male trees, they grow the pollen. It's not an actual flower, but they're like buds of pollen. And then the female trees, everywhere where there will be a pistachio, there will be like a sticky black dot, and that is what holds onto the pollen. So that's how it grabs hold of the pollen with the wind.
Wow, okay.
And these trees to your right, they look a little different from the ones to the left. This is the original 40 acres that was planted. See, and it's much easier to tell which ones are male and which ones are female.
Yeah.
It's easy to pick those out in here.
Yeah.
Now that you mentioned it, yeah.
So it's easier to tell right here. So these are, 40-year-old trees, and then there's these little baby trees. And it takes a really long time for pistachio trees to grow. This tree is about 8 years old. So, because it has nuts on it, it takes at least 7 years. So they do need the support of a PVC pipe for about a decade. And then we can take it off and it will be able to grow on its own.
Yeah, look at the birds.
We did a lot of birds here.
You still do tours in August?
We do tours every single day, except for Christmas Day and Thanksgiving. Those are the only days that we are not open. It is very hot in August, so bring your sunglasses and your sunscreen. Yeah, and lots of water.
Lots of squirrels too, huh?
We actually don't get a lot of squirrels here.
Oh, there was one back there.
There was one back there? Okay. I've probably seen a total of 5 squirrels in the 4 years that I've lived in New Mexico. Yeah, so I know they exist. I just haven't seen them. But I'm also from Georgia, which is like a forest. And there are squirrels everywhere. There's probably squirrels in every single crawl space of every single house in Georgia.
Other than birds, do you have any issues with pests here?
Not that I really know of. I do know that they have, of course, fertilizer and pesticides on these trees, but I don't know what exactly they're protecting them from. I have heard that rabbits really like small pistachio. The baby pistachio trees are very sweet and they're very small. And that's one reason why we keep the PVC pipe up, to kind of help it stay together. And they really like the grapevines because the sugars are concentrated in the vine. But yeah, we don't really have deer in this area. Other people who come on the tour who are from states, Georgia, Tennessee, all of the East Coast, there's a lot of deer. But we don't really get deer in this area. We do have elk, but they are up in the mountains. They don't come all the way down here. This building to your left is where we make all of our wine. So everything is done inside that building except for the juicing of the grapes, which is done on the porch. We can get past all of our cars. This is our employee parking lot. The orange metal machine, that is the grape press that we use. So a lot more efficient and much, much bigger than the original that I showed you.
How do you harvest the grapes from the vines?
We do that by hand. So we hand pick all the vines and then we put all the grapes inside that machine. Depending on the wine that we make, most of our wines are blends, so they're blends of various grapes. You'll also notice that if you try our wine, most of our wines are pretty sweet. They're on the sweeter side. That's due to the harsh sunlight that we have here. So the more sunshine, the sweeter it actually makes the grapes.
Cool.
Where's the guard dog?
Right.
The guard dogs are probably closer to the home where they live. The family still lives on this property.
They
so
do?
they're dogs. They do, yeah.
Wow.
This business is their whole life.
That is great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on this tour.
Thank you,
Hope you
Kendra.
enjoyed it.
Interesting.
Yes,
Yes.
very interesting.
You guys have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.